Welcome to episode 139 of In Touch with iOS, a podcast that talks about iPhone, iPad, Apple Watch, Apple TV, and related technologies. I am your host, Dave Ginsburg. My co-host Warren Scholar is off this week, but we got our guest as always, and welcome him back to the show, Mr. Jeff Gamet. How you doing, Jeff?
I'm doing great, and thanks for having me on. I know that I'm not Warren, but I will do my best to fill those shoes.
Oh, no, I think you will do great, and we miss you, Warren, but he'll be back next week. So, seems like a relatively active week going on here at the old Apple world here. There's a fair amount of news, but we got some good topics to hit on this week, as well as some Mac stock news we'll be talking about towards the end of the show, and on all kinds of other fun stuff. So then let's go ahead and dig right in. We'll just jump right into the news this week. On Mac Rumors this week, first story caught my eye was Apple TV. The Billie Eilish documentary drew a record number of new subscribers. The Billie Eilish, The World is a Little Blurry, had become the biggest hit among young adults. It's just no surprise, and has driven a record number of new subscribers to the service, according to Deadline. Which, of course, as we know, Apple never divulges subscriber numbers or viewer figures from Apple TV Plus. But according to the industry sources, speaking to Deadline, the documentary drew a record-breaking 33% new viewers to the service. And young adults reportedly fueled the momentum of the new subscribers since the film premiered. This was a week ago, as we record this on February 25th. And half the film's audience came from outside the United States, which is interesting too. Well, Billie Eilish, very popular musical artist, musician. I got tongue-tied there. And she is very young. She's 19 years old, and this was filmed when she was 17 years old. Did you happen to see it? Did you see it? I did.
I haven't had a chance to watch it yet.
Okay, but so I won't no spoilers. But
does she actually get to complete an album by the end of the movie?
She may have. I think everybody knows that. That's pretty kind of not a lot of secrets. So
it's like the spoiler in the Titanic. Does the ship sink?
Yeah. So, but Billie Eilish also has, I don't know the exact number, probably 40, 50, 60 million Instagram followers. So she is slightly popular. She's she's a really good musician. I really like her music.
I do too.
She's got an amazing voice. It's just you worry someone that young gets troubled. We've seen that happen in the past. Britney Spears.
And I think there's extra stuff going on in Britney's life to help screw that up.
There is, but
still, your point is well taken.
Yeah, she's got Billie Eilish has some very supportive parents, and they were very, very prominent in this documentary. So, Apple paid $25 million for this to the R.J. Cutler directed documentary. Back in December 2019, it battled against other services in a bidding war. And the record-breaking increase in subscribers and capture the young adult audience indicates that the move may have paid off. I think they're probably right. But the reason I want to really bring this up is the fact that we're going to start seeing more and more of this type of stuff on Apple TV Plus, and Apple is no stranger to getting involved in this kind of stuff. And I can't see why they can't continue to have hits like the movie Palmer that came out with Justin Timberlake. That was a really good movie. And a lot of their series, For All Mankind, is very popular right now. We got the second season of that. And so I just, still continue to think Apple's going to be relatively successful. I don't see it's going to be at a level of a Netflix, but I see it, getting up there.
Well, it's not going to be like Netflix because Apple's not taking the Netflix approach, which is get as much content as you can and just keep pumping it out there. And it feels more like Apple's approach is let's find the content that we think is going to be really good and successful and fits with the Apple TV Plus brand. And then let's go for that. So in one sense, it'll be a slow burner thing for Apple. But on the other hand, it looks to me like they're pretty successful right now.
Yeah.
And considering the talent that they've hired along the way to acquire content, I think they're going to be successful.
Absolutely. And I'm looking in the chat room for and our YouTube channel, and the guy, of course, is in the chat room. What kind of not surprised here. And the guy says Billie Eilish is her own mother, like Anthony Hopkins. Oh, we gotta love you, guy. So yeah, this is I just definitely see some good future with Apple TV Plus for sure. So, next story here: Apple launches a service for transferring iCloud photos and videos to Google Photos. Apple this week introduced a new service that it's designed to make it quick and easy for iCloud users to transfer their stored photos and videos to Google Photos. It's outlined in a Apple support document, which we'll have this as well as that the article, the link in the show notes. And you can go to Apple's privacy website and sign in to see the transfer a copy of data, your data option. And if you select this and go through all the steps, Apple will transfer your iCloud photos and videos to Google Photos. Now, you also got to remember here, Google is no longer offering a free tier of Google Photos, I think as of June, if I'm not mistaken. They will if you have an Android device, yeesh. Yeah, so I think you got to kind of take that into account if you're doing this. But if you pay for Google Photos service, where many of you probably do, I mean, I have Flickr. I keep a lot of my photos backed up on Flickr, which is an awesome service, which so glad that they are owned by SmugMug now. But I guess the transfer process does take between 3 and 7 days. That sounds about right. You know, just like if you would have a backup service like iDrive or Carbonite or one of those, you know, it's going to take you probably a month to get your data backed up online. But and you got to go through all the other stuff and all that as far as security and all that. So what'd you think? It's a good idea. I think people want to gives people an option. Don't put all your eggs in one basket.
I agree. I think this also shows that that this is the new Apple, not the old Apple, where things don't have to be completely nailed down inside Apple's own ecosystem. And I think it also is a smart strategic move, because there are various lawsuits, investigations that will happen, accusing Apple of monopolistic practices. And, you know, here's something Apple can say, well, look, you know, we set up this whole thing where we manage the whole process of getting your content out of iPhoto and into Google Photos. And no one made us do this. We're doing this just because we're the altruistic company.
Absolutely. So check it out. We'll have links in the show notes for that. Also, this was interesting. Amazon launched a new Game On clip recording app on iOS. Game On is Amazon's mobile gameplay recording platform. I'm not a gamer, but thought this was interesting. This has now been released on the iPhone and the iPad. The app lets game players capture video clips from a range of mobile titles that support screen recording and share them on the platform to other sites. Now, Amazon is also the owner of Twitch, which we know is probably one of the biggest platforms for game playing streaming out there. But however, Twitch is featuring the long videos that can last hours. Oh my God, I can't imagine even watching a gameplay for hours. Just not my thing. Yeah. But whereas Game On will enable gamers to capture short form videos that last from 30 seconds to 5 minutes long. I smell a TikTok here. And this was actually noted by TechCrunch. The two streaming platforms are completely disconnected. So using separate branding, different channels. Amazon's been partnering with Game On streamers to focus entirely on this as well. So, Game On allows users to edit videos and add commentary, or to include a stream of their own face while they play and all that other fun stuff. Game On did go live in November of 2020, but it was limited to the Android platform, which is interesting. And it was a very late arrival on iOS, but I think it was likely due to the hoops you have to jump through with security that comply with Apple's more stringent policies. So with that, as well as their policies with screen recording, because Apple's very, very strict about that. So, what'd you think about this?
Even without the hoops to jump through, it made sense to me in this case that they started with Android, because the gaming platform, I think, on Android is more robust. So sure, start there and then add in iOS later, which typically I'd say is a bad idea. Start with iOS where your money is, and then add in Android later on. Cool. I think there's a lot of people that want to get their Twitch style video recordings out for the games they're playing, and now they have another way to do it. So, hooray gamers! Yep,
hooray gamers! Yay! So check that out. And then last story I had this week: Plex now integrates with Apple's TV app on the iPhone, iPad, and Apple TV. Plex did today, as we record this, confirm that it now supports Apple's TV app, allowing you to keep track of what you've watched using the built-in Up Next feature in Plex, where you watch one of the Plex ad-supported videos on-demand offerings, which includes both TV shows and movies. You'll be prompted to allow Plex to share that, what you've watched to the TV app. And then from there, the Plex content will be visible in the Up Next, right alongside of all the other data sources, letting you keep tabs of your Plex content with that. Now, this isn't those of you who have a Plex server like I do, and I'm sure I don't know if do you have a Plex server?
I do.
Yes, it will not include your own content. This will only include the streaming content that Plex has, which is kind of neat what Plex has, and we probably will touch upon that a little bit later here with our streaming discussion. But all the ad-supported content is available for free on Plex, which is interesting. And again, we'll have this discussion about this in a little bit. But glad to see that they decided to integrate with the Apple TV app, because again, another place to put everything all in one place, so you get your eyeballs focused in one spot and not 10 spots. So, what you think? I guess we both love Plex, so I think that was a good thing.
Yeah, I think it's a good thing. I was initially really excited, then disappointed, and then okay. It was a roller coaster for me because I had missed the part initially about the ad-supported content that they stream that'll show up in the TV app. Because I thought, holy crap, I can now watch my own content that I'm storing on my Plex server right through the TV app, as opposed to having to go to the Plex app. This is awesome. And then it turns out it's not that. But still, this is good. Turning the TV app into a content hub is great. The problem that I've seen with it is that there's not enough of the services that are actively supporting this. And so I don't use it as often as I should, because like Netflix doesn't support it.
Right.
And yes, I know that old library stuff will work with Netflix. Not the same. You either support it or you don't. So if you're halfway, to me, that's you don't support it. But with Plex, my guess is this is probably as far as they can go with supporting it. And when I say that, I mean it's probably technically not possible for them to hook into some way for you to have your own personal content showing up in the TV app.
Yep. So, good stuff. And that's our news for this week. Let's move on to our topics. Before we go on to our topics, I actually wanted to mention a discussion that I had last week on episode 138, the last episode, about this great new service that allows you to swap your AirPods when you have the dead batteries and get you a brand new fresh pair. It's a company called PodSwap. We talked about it on episode 138. I'm not going to go into any detail of that, other than the fact I want to give them a shout out. Thanks for mentioning us this podcast on your press page and quoting some of the things I said. So happy to give you guys some publicity, and I think it's an absolutely great service for those of you who have. Right now, it's just the AirPods, the first generation, but process works great. But you can go back and listen to 138. We don't need to rehash all that. So just give them a shout out for that. So any thoughts, Jeff?
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah.
I love it when podcasts get shout out like that. Also, I wasn't familiar with PodSwap until you told me about it. Yeah.
So check it out. And all right, so let's talk about beta this week. Of course, Warren is our beta god because he loves to be a beta as much as he can. Although he did sell his MacBook Pro 16-inch because he was itching to be ready when the new one comes out. So as you and I both know from his posts on Mac to the Future and our discussions with him, so he's got that up for sale. So he is not on beta on Mac, and that's gotta be driving him crazy. But,
I bet it is.
But we talk about iOS here. So beta 3 was released actually this week. It was a couple days ago. And with Warren out, I just wanted to give some of the talk about some of the pending features that are standing out. We've been talking about one of them that stands out for me, and I know it's more Mac related, but it is the HomePod. Is the fact that I have a HomePod pair, so I have the full size big boy HomePod sitting next to me here as I record this, and now you're going to be able to stream your sound from your Mac to both HomePods. What a concept. Drove me absolutely crazy. I got a pair of great speakers here and I can't stream them to both of them because there was some limitation. Well, they fixed that in Big Sur beta 11.3. So I've tried it. I have a Mac on beta for it, and works absolutely awesome. And then the other thing that everybody is itching to get is the fact of the matter of your waste. We all are wearing our masks these days with the things that are going on in this world. To being able to unlock your iPhone without having to put your passcode in every time. Well, your Apple Watch is going to automatically unlock it for you. It's going to be limited. It will unlock it to a point where you can get to the phone, but it won't. Some of the other security that's in there will not work for good reason. It's important to be able to know that's you're protecting you. So, and we also talked about game controllers, and they are adding a crowdsourcing Waze-like feature that will allow you to report accidents in Apple Maps. I think that's smart. Do competition with Google, since of course Google owns Waze, and other big controversy was the fact that, and I thought it was a bit of controversy because, they've done default changes on everything else, but being able to change your default streaming service to use like Spotify over Apple Music, for example. Well, I do have an article in the show notes that actually clarifies the fact that Apple confirms that this is not a setting as a default feature. So you can't say, I'm going to play my music and I'll go right to Spotify. It isn't going to work that way. It's incorporating with the S Lady. So giving you the opportunity with not only music, podcasts, and audiobook playback, that you can say, hey, S Lady, play this song on that service, in the case of Spotify. So interesting to see what they've decided to do with this, where you got browsers, email clients, and others that are now able to be set as a permanent default. So what do you think of this? I think this is an interesting thing here. I like it because I do too.
Yeah, not everyone is using Apple Music, and we have these speakers that are much more useful to people if they can stream from whatever platform they actually want to use. So you want to sell more HomePods? Well, let people stream from more services. And is my understanding the same as your understanding on how this works, where you say, hey, S Lady, play Billie Eilish on Spotify. And now it just remembers that you want to use Spotify. It's not like you're going and changing a setting. And then at some point later on, your HomePod may very well ask you, what service do you actually want to play this on? And make sure that you still want to listen to it, to stuff on Spotify. Not like in the same session, but like maybe days or weeks later.
Right. Article we've got linked in the show notes is on Mac Stories. Our friend Federici Chici's got some good, always has great information out there. And it seems like it's more of the argument Apple is boiling it down to semantics. That it will not offer a proper page in settings to actually convert it as a quote unquote default audio app, like browsers and email clients. But you could say that the fact that Siri is going to be intelligent enough that it's going to understand what you're doing and remember, and that's what S Lady does all the time is remember what you do and try to make things more automatic for you. But you could do it on other services like Pandora and Spotify and probably maybe even Sonos. I don't know, any other music services that are out there, SoundCloud, and same thing with podcasts. If you're using a podcast, another podcast app besides Apple Podcasts, you'll have that option. And even audiobooks, probably go to Audible as opposed to Apple Books. And so yeah, it's purely, I think it's going to be in a Siri thing. But who knows? This could go somewhere for the future. It's very possible that it could. At least I would think.
Yeah, it's also good as yet another preemptive strike. Look how open we are. We're not an evil monopoly.
Right.
But still, if you want to sell HomePods, let people play stuff on them and don't limit the playback platform. You'll sell more HomePods.
Yep. And then other feature actually that stood out today as we record this, that this was over on 9 to 5 Mac, and Mac Rumors here is quoted it that explains that a turn off item safety features option is going to come up. And then we'll notice that someone has placed an AirTag or any Find My compatible item tracker in your possession to prevent your location from being shared. If you attempt to turn the toggle off, the Find My app will warns you by doing so. The owner of that unknown item will be able to see your location if you turn it on. So interesting. They noticed this is the same thing with this. All goes back to the AirTags. I mean, we've been talking about the AirTags for like a year. Is Apple ever going to come out with these AirTags with these devices? They're also, a lot of more and more third party devices like Beats and with their earphones, and Belkin is going to have theirs already enabled in my Find My. So you can do it even much more different. Being able to find these devices more than just the AirPods. The other thing too, I saw too in the beta is you're actually going to be able to go into the Find My, and actually it has a graphic that comes up with the magnifying glass, and you can start saying search for my devices, and it just does a full out search and sees if it sees any of your devices that are nearby, and it'll tell you through the Find My. I've got a great story with Find My. My mom unfortunately had misplaced her phone, and she'd realized she had either got lost or fell out of her purse. I'm not sure, at a store where she was working. So she ended up went home, and of course freaking out. And I can't blame her. You lose your iPhone, you're not very happy. I says, okay, we got to figure out how to find this for you. She did have an iPad, luckily, and not being as tech savvy as we know most of our parents are at that age, had to really handhold her with this, but it was okay. And she couldn't get her iPad to work because she said, I had stopped using it because the battery wasn't charged. I'm like, okay, great. All right. So now what's your password for your iTunes, your Apple ID? Oh, there it is. It worked. 2-factor authentication. So how do you get a code? The only device that has it is the iPad. And other than that, there's no other device that's available. Didn't have a PC set up, nothing else. So you're kind of out of luck with that if you don't. And I was really getting concerned, like, this is crazy, And then of course Apple's process is, you can put I put my own phone number in. And well, it's going to be about a day. We'll send it to you, but we know we unfortunately have to wait. But we're sorry, but that's how it goes. Well, I never got it. Anything sent to me. So yeah. I probably been waiting days, and she had no phone. luckily, I told her, plug the iPad in, maybe it'll come back on and have some life that you can use it. So sure enough, she was with my dad, and they got the iPad up and running, and opened up Find My, and there it was. It was sitting at the store where apparently she had dropped it. But the cool thing was in Find My, it's doing it just like what it was with Apple Maps. It goes down to the very minute detail to where it could actually be. And if that store has a map, it's actually going to tell you what aisle and what section it was, which it did. So, which is pretty cool. It pressed them both pretty immensely. So she went home, and the happy story is she got her phone back. So
that's awesome.
So this is just added to this with the beta we were talking about of this is just adding to how much of value that Find My has for finding your devices. So I know we probably all have millions of stories that we could tell as far as. I mean, I told my story about when I left my iPad at a horse racing track, and when I was there for a day of fun, and I'm freaking out, and I started turning my tone on, and the security guards were freaking out because it kept going. What is that thing? You're driving me nuts. Turn that off.
That's funny.
I'll be there in a few minutes. So it's just it's great stuff, and I'm sure you've experienced it too, but I can't say enough.
Yeah, Find My has been incredibly useful. Yeah. So I'm going to toss something out here.
Yeah.
And people are just going to hate this, but so with Find My iPhone, or excuse me, with Find My and the new items thing, and Apple saying that there's the whole API so that third-party devices can hook into that. What if Apple's still not going to release AirTags? And,
I know.
And
it's going to happen.
And they
leave
that. The tag thing to companies like Tile, because there's nothing stopping Tile from tying in to that, and then you can use the Tile app or the Find My app and find your Tile products or Tile tags. So now I say this expecting Apple's going to release their own tracker device, but at the same time, with what they've set up, they don't have to.
Right. So, yeah, I mean, because that's Tile's been frightened of being frightened that their device is going to get Sherlocked. It's going to be a device that, you got Apple already doing it. And I know Tile had been contemplating maybe even lawsuits and that kind of thing. But there's obviously something going on with Apple with the technology with this, that they're holding this back. It just isn't meeting their standards or something to that effect. So
it might be the threat of the lawsuits. And they're just like sitting here waiting to let a lot of this play out. And then when the time is right, legally for them, and when I say legally, I mean as far as lawsuits go,
right? Then
they'll say, "Hey, look what we have." But also, they're going to have to come up with something really compelling to get me to retire my Tile tags, because I have quite a few, and I'm not just going to toss them out or replace all of them if Apple can't offer me something much more compelling than what I'm getting from Tile.
Right. So we'll see where it goes. That's beta for this week, and some bonus coverage of AirTags and Find My. So let's go ahead and move on. We're gonna actually go into some streaming discussion here. And the first topic of part of this of the show is about the Apple TV. The third generation is slowly dying. It's going to be fading away to oblivion, just like the Series 2 did. And if we remember the old Series 1 from way back when.
The one that looked like a Mac Mini.
Like that Mac Mini that was the slowest machine there was, but it was just a hobby back then, That's
You're right.
If I remember what Steve Jobs said. And,
it was a hobby for quite a while until it suddenly wasn't.
So this week, there was two announcements that happened. YouTube, which I think is the biggest of all the blows, is no longer going to support the device, and the app is going to be removed from the third generation Apple TV. As everybody knows, the third generation has preset installed apps. There's not an app store like the fourth gen and the 4K version now. But we also got to say that the 4K version, pretty much is the most current one now, They've been around for like, what, 3 years now, 4 years. So, and Apple still hasn't showed any love to Apple TV. So you kind of wonder where that's going to go. But you know what? These Apple TV third gen devices, albeit they are slower than the current models, you still can AirPlay to them. So I think that's one thing you still can do. People tend to have challenges when it comes to using AirPlay. I think that's where I'm be a little concerned. Is are they going to give up on it? It's like, I don't want to deal with this anymore. But it works. MLB was the other one.
Don't give up on it.
Me either. I mean, I would hope not as well. So two of the big services, MLB, which is a very big content provider for obviously for Major League Baseball, and YouTube. That was two big blows to be removed from that device. But that just is bringing the value of that device even lower. So if you try to resell it, they could probably be one had for $10 or $20. I wouldn't be surprised.
Probably. Yep. I still have one. It's not one I use, but
no, neither. I haven't too. It's sitting in a box.
Yeah, mine's in my projector box, so that if I go someplace, you remember when we used to go on location for presentations and stuff. Sometimes I need to take my own projector, so I just kept that third gen Apple TV in the box, so that I'd have an easy way to connect all my devices for presentations. Losing these apps off of the third gen Apple TV sucks for some people, and I totally get it. But at the same time, supporting those apps is it doesn't make fiscal sense anymore, I think, for these companies, because
you're right.
It's a separate code base from what we have on the newer Apple TVs, because of the version of operating system that you're running, and you have to work in concert with Apple to have the apps written and compiled and then pushed out to the Apple TV. That takes money and time and resources that could be going other places.
Absolutely. So, and then kind of transition over a little bit with video. As we record this today was the very first day of the launch of Paramount Plus, which is the replacement for CBS All Access. So today that happened, and it was interesting the way it went, because I would have expected that they're going to make you download another app and install it, but instead they were able to code it in a much smarter way, where you went just opened up your App Store app and it said, "Oh, you have an update," and it just all it does is just rebranded it and just and sent you a new update. So it went very smoothly. So I think that was a smart thing. Hopefully people will see that needs to be done, because some people are resistant to getting their apps updated right away. But I was impressed enough that the app did that. I actually did sign up for it beforehand. They were offering the deal where you can get it $50 for the entire year. So you divide that out. That's only about $4 a month, which is not too terribly bad. I think
that's not bad.
Too barely priced. So I opted to do that. So I'm locked in for a year, and I'm good with that. Did you subscribe to CBS All Access for you?
Yeah, I have the CBS All Access plus Showtime bundle.
So what happens to that? Does that stay, or? I
don't know. I hope it stays, because that's a really nice deal.
It is.
Yeah. So I bet I'll know when we're done recording, because that's when I'll actually have my first time today to go and sit in front of the television. And I was planning on launching CBS All Access and seeing what happened. So I don't know. I hope that deal stays. I mean, even if it's something where they say, okay, it's a grandfathered deal now, and the only people that get to have it are the people that already have it.
Yeah, I would think that they did. If I remember back in the beginning of February, the CBS and Showtime bundle was no longer able through the Apple TV app. But I would think they will continue. It only makes sense. They're both owned Viacom CBS properties, so I mean, it would only make total sense to do that. So, but I want a little detail with what's on Paramount Plus. They're going to have. They already have 2 big SpongeBob premieres, which is exciting. I just can't believe it.
I'm surprised you're actually able to sit down while you're saying that.
It's really tough. Really tough. So they got for the kids, which is great. And then don't have to worry about Star Trek. Star Trek's going to be, and I figure you're probably one of the reasons you're probably a subscriber is because you're watching Star Trek Discovery and Picard, and they have some of the old
Lower Decks
and all the series and Star Trek: The Next Generation. I think they have the first gen. They don't have every series, but a lot of the movies too. Which, of course, if we recall, Star Trek was a Paramount.
That's true. They don't have all the series.
Company. I don't think they have. They have most of them. I think. I have to go back and look.
I thought they had all of them.
They probably do, and I'll probably just. As far as films go, I think they're going to have the back catalog for Paramount. So that would include things like Top Gun and Mission Impossible. They will probably stream those new sequels that come out because, boys, I can't wait to see Top Gun. I love Top Gun, the first movie, and that's supposed to be coming out. That was supposed to come out last year, of course, but it didn't for obvious reasons. But so they're also including like the Godfather trilogy and the Indiana Jones films. This is a big back catalog that you're going to be able to get access to. So I'm pretty excited about that part of it.
That's very cool.
Be able to go back. I know not everybody likes to watch old movies, but all the CBS content will be there. Stephen Colbert, a lot of the TV series, and sports fans will be able to get the NFL on CBS, assuming that still stays. I've been hearing rumblings of contract changes and such, but the NCAA, and so you shouldn't have to do anything. Like it says, I have a link in the App Store preview that highlighted this today on Apple's App Store. It just subscription just transfers and you get a new app, and it works really well. So, but I wanted to kind of talk a little bit about services in general. So, let's say HBO Max, so interesting to where all the content ends up going. And the reason why we're talking about this is just we consume this content on your iPads and a lot of times on your iPhone too. I mean, with me having the iPhone 12 Pro Max, I'm using it quite a bit to watch. I mean, I was just watching some TV before we started recording the show here because I want to catch up on some shows, and it doesn't bother me much to watch it on there because it's a nice big screen and it's a good experience. And the same thing, of course, with the iPad, the 12.9 or the 11-inch device. So it's out there. But like HBO Max is one that has things like The Big Bang Theory and has Friends. And both of those shows were on, like Friends was NBC and Big Bang was on CBS. So neither one of those are on the Paramount because of the fact that the licensing. I mean, it's where distribution came from, and then those shows ended up on HBO Max. So you have that. So you have that series. Of course, I'm subscriber to. I mean, I've created a list here of some of the things that I am paying for, and some of the things I'm not paying for, and also things that are free. Other ones that are paid, it's like Peacock. I think Peacock does have a free tier on NBC. Yes. That it's ad based, which is fine. But I'm a Comcast Xfinity subscriber, so I get it for free. So it's included, which is awesome.
It
don't have to. Yes, it is. Yeah, if you're a Comcast Xfinity subscriber, you get Peacock for free.
Oh, well, okay. Well, then I'll go get the Peacock app.
Yeah,
I hadn't bothered to install it because it's like, I've been so spoiled by not having to watch commercials, and I didn't want to pay for another service. I was like, I just won't get it. But it is included, and the sign-in does work with the app. Originally, at first it didn't, but I was able to get the app to work. If you have their X1 platform through Comcast Xfinity, the Peacock app is actually built into that, so you can watch it right from there too. Okay. TV. Well, thanks for eating up even more of my time. I appreciate that.
That's right. And then of course you have other services like Hulu. I'm not a subscriber of Hulu, but they have some decent content. Of course, because I'm being a Comcast subscriber, I do have all the TV I need. Albeit, you try to analyze what with doing cord cutting, it almost doesn't pay off, and it's so much easier with the interface with Xfinity.
There was a time when it really looked like cord cutting was going to be the better financial option. But companies like Comcast, Xfinity, I mean, of course they ran the numbers and they figured out how to do this so that it's, for most people, I think, cheaper to not be a cord cutter, which for them is smart. I mean, I've been a cord cutter for a very long time, but the irony is I'm a cord cutter, but to be able to get the better price on my broadband, it has to have a TV bundle with it, which is crazy.
Exactly.
But I don't want to have that stupid box in my way. So I never even opened the cable box when they sent it to me. It's at the back of my closet somewhere.
Well, unfortunately, they're charging you for it too. But it's still a better deal in the long run there. So, but go get Peacock for that. So, Hulu and YouTube TV both have services where you can subscribe and have your TV content, but you add up the cost, it's the same. I mean, it just doesn't make sense to do that. Hulu has a cheaper tier where you could just get the original content and some of the other content that's on demand. And then Amazon Prime, of course. Amazon Prime Video is big. Of course, if anybody hasn't heard, this weekend is Eddie Murphy's new movie sequel to Coming to America is coming out on Friday.
It's coming out. Yes.
Yeah. So you got to I'll definitely be watching that. I love that movie.
I love Coming to America.
McDonald's. Remember John Amos was looking at the McDonald's manual and he's trying to get their secrets. Oh, that was such a great movie.
It was fantastic.
And then Roku, of course, has their own content app. And then you have Crackle, which is another. I hear some of the free tiers. Now, the one that kind of stands out to me as far as a free tier that works great with the iPad, Apple, the iPhone, and the iPad is Pluto TV. Pluto is got a lot of pretty interesting content and a lot of stuff on the service, and it's absolutely free, which is just mind blowing. They've got dedicated channels to just specific shows. Like if you really like the Love Boat back in the 70s and 80s, you have a whole channel just for that. All in the Family, one day at a time. A lot of those shows are on there as dedicated channels. A
Love Boat channel.
It's phenomenal, the fact that they have that. So I'm pretty impressed with Pluto TV. Another one is called Tubi, Tubi. Another one that's free, and Xumo, Xumo is another one that's free.
Oh, I've been pronouncing it Zumo.
Is it Zumo?
Maybe I don't know. Zumo. I have no idea.
Yeah. So check out. I mean, I've got this bullet list of all these services. It's definitely worth a chance to check it out. Of course, you're dealing with ad supported stuff with free. Free is never free.
You're right.
But
you always.
But if you don't mind the count, I mean, come on. You think about it when you're watching regular TV. You can easily expect that you always had to watch commercials in the past. So
I don't understand these words you're saying. Regular TV.
Yeah, regular TV. Well, there is that service called Locast that in many cities across the U.S. Allow you to be able to get the over-the-air channels over the internet. I don't know if you're familiar with that service, but I believe it is available in the Denver area. So as well as Chicago and a lot of big cities across the United States.
I'm pretty sure it's here too.
But the bad part is it every time you change a channel, it nags you to donate. So if you don't donate, you have to wait through their begging ad, and then you got the channel on. It's not like what we love to do is flip channels all the time, right?
Yeah. So if there's only one over-the-air channel you watch, that wouldn't be so bad because you're not going to get the nags as often. That's definitely true. But still, like you said, you pay even when it's free.
Absolutely. You sure do. And lastly, I'll to talk one more pay service, Discovery Plus. I didn't think I would really be into that service, and that's all the Discovery Network channels, Food Network and a lot of the other channels that are part of their package, and investigative TV. They got a lot of interesting investigative stuff, and they also got a lot of original content, and it's a really high quality. And the best part is you always got to watch Guy Fieri and Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives. That's always everybody's favorite show. But and it's nice to be able to watch it and not have to watch the commercials because it is.
Oh, right.
You have a commercial free tier, and then you have the ad supported tier. So that's other service to check out as well. So, but I think it's definitely going to be interesting to see where streaming goes, and there's just so much more content out there, just as we talked about here, to absorb and like you said, you can, if you've got TV, you actually probably can watch Xfinity Comcast stream. You can just put it on a browser and watch the channels on there if you really wanted to. If you've got TV service, you can.
Sure.
So
yeah.
So endless amounts of entertainment these days, and in addition to not talking about cord cutting, because at this point, like you said, cord cutting, it just becomes it's become such a non-factor. It was big back in a few years ago, but not anymore.
Well, okay. Here's the problem I see with cord cutting today, and the problem is that we've entered a new golden age of television, where the quality of the content is so much higher, and the amount of content that's high quality is really high. Back when cord cutting seemed like a really good option, it was like, well, I already have Amazon Prime because I'm an Amazon Prime customer, so that's just a freebie thrown in. But I have Netflix, and there we go. Oh, and then I got HBO. All right, now I have everything that I could possibly want, and I'm paying substantially less than if I had a cable package. Well, now you have to have. I mean, you rattled off a long list, and each one of those has a lot of great content, and most of them have original content that's worth watching. Absolutely. So we'll have all these links in the show notes for all the comprehensive information relates to each one of these services. Check them out, and that's me. I'm kind of a person that likes to collect things, and that's probably what I'm doing right now is collecting these free services and not trying to pay for all these services. And then of course I have many consumption devices. Not only do I have an Apple TV, I have a Roku, I have a TiVo stream device that's an Android based device. So you gotta just kind of experience it and see what the experience is besides just Apple TV, and those devices aren't as expensive as Apple TV, which is it's a good thing. So, all right, we got a couple tips and cool stuff found here, and then we're going to talk about MacStock here in just a bit. First tip I had here was. How do you shut down your iPhone without buttons? Because we know the tip, and I've given this tip a bunch of times, how to do a power down on your iPhone. And the way you do that is you push your volume up, you volume down, and then push your power to the side button, and then the power button will come up at the top. But there is a way to do it actually within the phone itself, and going into settings. So if you go into settings, then you go into general. If you scroll all the way down to the very bottom of that list, there is a button there that says shut down. So you don't have to go through all that physical stuff. You're still going to be doing some physical stuff, but at least that way, it's an easy way to get to the shutdown on your iPhone. And the same thing applies to the iPad. It has easy way to shut it down as well. So I thought that was a good tip. That's an excellent tip. And I know there's a lot of people that'll say, look, it's not that big of a deal to hold the two buttons in at the same time or do up, down, side. And but for some people, it actually is a big deal.
Yeah, physically.
I mean, they might. If you have arthritis and it's bad enough, you probably aren't going to actually really be able to squeeze those buttons long enough. And so here you go. Now you have a way to do it without having to find a friend or a crowbar or jam it up against a wall or whatever. Absolutely.
So, and then I have a cool stuff found, and this might become one of my cool stuff found for the Mac show tomorrow.
Cool.
This is from a company called Wutotu. And I know that's a crazy name, but what it is, it's a metal iPhone tripod mount with a cold shoe. Has a 360-degree rotation, and it's compatible to pretty much any smartphone you have. Has a tripod mount. It does spin, and it does lock in place. I can't show it physically on the camera because I'm actually using it right now for my webcam, which is my iPhone. But really cool little device here. The color, it's in black and it's metal, so it's really solidly built. I mean, I've had other clips in the past, but this was a recommendation. I was like, let me check this out. And I just got it today and I just started using it. And it's actually a pretty cool device. I was very impressed of its how it's built. It's solid, very easy to spin and get your iPhone in position when you have it on a tripod and clamp it in place. It's a good rig mount. I guess you would do it for live streaming.
That's really cool. I have a cool thing for you also.
Okay, cool. Awesome.
This just came out. I haven't actually been able to touch one yet, but it looks so well designed, and it's from 12 South. So
yeah, those guys rock.
Yeah, I feel comfortable saying this is a really cool thing without ever touching it. And It's called the HoverBar Duo. And it's an iPhone or iPad stand. And you clamp the device in there so you can do horizontal or landscape or portrait. And the base is heavy enough that you can just stand there, and your iPad isn't going to make the thing tip over. It has a little divot thing, a trough in the base, so that you can set an Apple Pencil down. It's not going to roll away. And the Duo part comes in because not only is it a stand, but it's a clamp. So you can clamp it to the side of your desk or to your headboard, or like one of the examples they have was clamping it to a cabinet in your kitchen. Mm-hmm. And it looks nice. It looks like it's really well designed, and it's 12 South. So how can you go wrong? Yep.
I had their old one, the one that they had. I forgot what they called it, though. I think it was called the HoverBar. It wasn't a Duo. That was the one that, and it doesn't work with the newer iPads, of course. I have it. And it had that nice plastic clamp with the ball, and it had a really heavy-duty clamp that clamped to your desk, like you said. Mm-hmm. So I think I did have this one. And yeah, 12 Soft makes some awesome stuff. They really do.
And this is their brand new version of that.
Yeah, so this is because they discontinued the one I had. I couldn't even. In fact, I was hoping maybe you give me some. Maybe you're going to sell like a updated bracket for the newer iPads. No. Then it just like disappeared. They gave up on it. But apparently they came back and they have it out again. That's great.
Yeah,
that's awesome. So, all right. Before we wrap up here, I wanted to mention a little bit about MacStock. MacStock 2021. As many of us know, and many of you know, I've talked about MacStock for many, many years. Jeff and I both attended most years, and I've been to them all years. I don't know if you've been to every year, but
not to every year. Have you spoken at MacStock?
I have spoken at MacStock.
Okay, so both of us are MacStock speaker alumni.
Speaker alumni. So as everybody knew, last year, MacStock 2020 went virtual for obvious reasons, and it went off just amazingly. And I was a producer of the event, and we had just an amazing time. And I think a lot of people really enjoyed it. It's not going to replace the fun of being in person and meeting everybody and getting to see everybody each year, because the first 5 years we were doing that, and I always looked forward to it every year. And then Mike, of course, had to make a difficult decision to change it in 2020. Well, he had to do it again this year in 2021. It's just with the current situation going on, and the event host, Mike Potter, as I mentioned, decided to keep it virtual. He did post a video, which I have a link in the show notes for you to take a look at. And he actually did a tour of the Woodstock, Illinois town square, which is actually where his office is as well. And that's where Groundhog Day was filmed. So if anybody is familiar with that. So, I understand. I understood his decision. I think it was a good decision.
I agree,
because you don't know by June. I mean, yeah, things are going to probably start lightening up a little bit with the things going on, but you don't know. I mean, and the event, the venue's probably not going to open it up at 100% as far as people can be there, and he doesn't want that. That's just not fun. We don't want to restrict it down to just like 50 people. We want our 150 or 200 people to be there and more to see and enjoy the event. So it's going to go virtual. And watch the video. I will link it, like I said, in the show notes of what Mike talked about and what his thoughts are. Still more to come. Nothing else has been decided as of yet when it's going to be. I would venture to say it'll probably be in July, as it always is. We try to do it in the summertime. So stay tuned. We'll be hearing more about this on this show and other shows out there. And we just wanted to make sure we mentioned that. And shout out to Mike Potter. Thank you for everything you do with MacStock. We love it. And Jeff and I both are full supporters. We still got to get Warren to go. Warren has not been to MacStock ever. So
what is wrong with that man?
I know. We got to get him going. He was all ready to go last year, but obviously it didn't happen. So.
Yeah. Well, okay. We'll get in there at some point. I mean, Warren is really missing out. And Warren, if you watch this, I'm telling you, you are missing out. He
is. So. All right, let's go ahead and wrap things up here, and we'll call this show to a close. That is a wrap for this week. Please send your comments, questions, and suggestions to our email address, feedback@intouchwithios.com. You can follow us on Twitter @intouchwithios. You can subscribe in your favorite podcatcher, including Apple Podcasts and many others, but better yet, you can go to our website at intouchwithios.com, where all the links to all the ways to listen to us are there. I am your host, Dave Ginsburg, and you can find me on Twitter @DaveG65. Jeff, thank you again for being here. I always love having you, and you're always welcome. Where can everybody find you?
Well, first, thanks for having me back, and I have so much fun with you and with Warren. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to next time when Warren's here too. Yeah. And I'm easy to find. I'm Jay Gamet on Twitter and Instagram. And actually, you can find me a lot of Tuesdays now on Mac Voices Live with Chuck Joyner.
That's right. And with me.
And with you. Yep. And sometimes I even remember the names of the shows that I'm on. Sometimes. And so this is Thursday, so that means tomorrow morning. I'm going to be hosting the Mac Show on British Tech Network live for Ewan Rankin while he recovers from being old enough to be out of warranty.
Yes, he needs to recover, and I will more than likely, I think, I will be joining you on that show tomorrow as well.
Awesome.
So thank you for being here. I appreciate it, Jeff. Thanks to everybody out there for listening. We really appreciate it, and we'll talk again soon.